Hi everyone, we're going to be continuing our journey today with Cairn from where we left off last time. So we were past the first rock phase just in the last episode, and we're going to continue with this sort of warm-up section that we know, or I know from the demo. Not sure if you played that yourself, but yeah, let's just move right along and see what we can accomplish today.
Again? Who's it now? Chris? Naomi? Don't pick up. I'll take care of it later.
Yeah, this might not have been the best idea from Ava. If you're going to go alone on such a journey, then you may want to once in a while give some information about what you're planning and where you are at the moment to anyone that you talk to. Let's see what this part is about. Map of Tenzen. This infographic resembles a little bit this sort of mountain, so I guess it's called Tenzen. We're going to be climbing that shortly. Poster about climbing practice. Yeah, so this is actually very, very true. When in higher altitude, don't lay off the chalk. Used before or during the climb, it provides multiplied grip strength for a couple meters of ascent. The Climbot, even in its older versions, features a compost function that guarantees a stock of chalk right up to the summit. Okay, so first of all, the climbing chalk, sometimes called magnesium, is basically a way to keep your grip a bit better during climbing, and you use it pretty much to dry your hands. Your hands get wet or sweaty during climbing because it's a sport activity that is physically exhausting, so you get sweaty a lot. And climbing chalk is supposed to prevent that. There's multiple types of climbing chalk. There's dry, this powder-like climbing chalk. There are some, how do I call them? Stones or cubes of magnesium or climbing chalk that you can just squeeze in your hands or whatever, and that gets a thin layer of chalk onto your hands. There's also liquid chalk that's some sort of combination of climbing chalk together with some sort of alcohol-like liquid that when put on your hands it's in a liquid form. You just spread it around your hands and move your hands around a bit so that the air dries it out, and then you're going to have this sort of layer of chalk on your hands that's ready to be used for climbing. This type of chalk is not as efficient as powder chalk because it is used rather quicker, but yeah, some people find that very convenient. Notice raising awareness about pollution linked to mountaineering. The mountain is not your garbage dump. Pick up your trash. Yeah, I wish people would do that in real life more often. Or not litter at all. Poster on local wildlife. The pika. Related to hares or rabbits. Pikas or ocotonas or chotonas are particularly well adapted to live at high altitudes. These herbivores, known for their sharp whistles, may be difficult to spot. Indeed, they sneak into piles of stones or burrow into the ground when disturbed. Okay, I'm gonna watch out for that. Yeah, then, I think we can go on and we can explore a little bit what's going on here. There's a river. You can drink some water from the river, that's nice, good to know. The waterfall that we may want to avoid. And some paths, some trails, hiking trails. Due to major landslides, the GR 3007 hiking trail is temporarily closed. Okay. That means we must go up. There's no other way. Ooh. Wait. What is going on? Is this my climbing bot? What's he doing out there? Doesn't seem like my climbing buddy is here, so seems like he just went on a short climb. Well, that's interesting. Seems like I can't go much further than that distance, so we can't even see the trails. But I guess they do not extend far, so it wouldn't even be meaningful to go there. But maybe I can explore this part offline after we are done with the game, of course. I will gladly come back to this game a couple of times at least, I think. Maybe do some challenges, some climbing challenges. Yeah, he's back. There's a nice chimney formation right here that could possibly be climbed. Although, yeah, there's a waterfall here, not sure whether there's any sort of mechanic in the game that makes watery parts of the rocks slippier. But maybe because there's this weather mechanic and it can snow or rain in the game. So I would imagine that it affects the ability of climbing. A short save. I don't think we need to set up a bivouac here anytime soon. What's here? Another climbing trail closed. The same one. Alright, then. Let's go ahead and climb the route here. Let's see. I think this part looks relatively safe and easy to climb. I don't think we get anything better here. And this part is a bit higher up, so it's going to take longer. So I think we can proceed with this route. Okay, moving along. Again, slow and steady. Lining out the moves as best as possible. Trying to move my feet and my hands as far up as possible. That's what you want to aim for in climbing, to be as efficient as possible. People that are relatively new to climbing and don't get the idea as much or the techniques, they tend to use their arms, like Ava tries here, as much as possible. I'm going to select my left leg, because I need to bump my left leg here a bit higher up. It's gonna allow me to extend my reach with the hands a bit better, a bit further, and it's going to make the climb here a tiny bit easier. And then looking for some ledges here. Very nice foot placement. There, nice grab onto the ledge. Got some ledges here, maybe she can extend, stretch out a bit. Yeah, put the left hand here, the right hand foot here. Ooh. she's very flexible. Normally you wouldn't get such movements with your feet or your legs. Nice. We avoided a usage of a piton. And about that, as we're losing some
Just passing through.
sunlight, I think we're going to have to set up a bivouac soon to get some sleep. I don't want to be climbing in the night. And yeah, before we do that, we can explore. And about the pitons, the pitons are the self-screwing pitons that are used in this game. They resemble a piece of climbing equipment that's real. They are called the pitons, actually. And as far as I can tell, the pitons are quite an archaic set of equipment, because, yeah, as I've read about them, they are climbing gear that was used when climbing was just developing. Right now there are plenty of better climbing gear options to snatch on the market, and the pitons are quite... And let's grab a short break. We can have a nice view of a thread. Oh, I can take a photo. Sure, why not? Yeah, the pitons are pretty, how do I say it, invasive when it comes to placing it on the rocks, placing them on the rocks, because what you need together in a set with the pitons is some sort of a hammer or some hammering tool that you're going to use in order to find a loose crack in the rock, and you're going to be placing them, or mounting them into the rock. So maybe we can find some sort of a crack. Yeah, like imagine this part right here, just on my hand level. You can see there's some sort of a crack. You would grab a piton, place it into the crack, and just jam it in with a hammer or something like that. And you can imagine that it's going to affect the rock, the rocks. You're going to be making holes in the rocks. The rocks can get loose over the time when people would do that, and yeah, that would be rather bad for the general condition of the rock. And I think we're going to have a bit of an issue here, because I don't see a saving spot here, and I don't think we can set up a bivouac without it, so we're going to need to find a quick way to climb. And I believe there was a saving spot somewhere around here, but maybe it has changed a bit in the full game in comparison to the demo. Yeah, let's hope that the sun stays at that spot, because it doesn't seem to be moving all that much. Yeah, so let's just quickly try to scout ahead, see what the route, what kind of a route we have available to us. This seems quite logical, maybe not the easiest route, but definitely possible to climb route. Yeah, because here we don't get many ledges. This would probably be possible if those sort of patches on the rock that are lighter in color are possible to be grabbed onto, but I'm not going to risk it, and I'm not going to waste any more time for looking for any better sort of route, so I'm just going to climb right here. I think it's going to be sufficient for us. It would be nice if we could push our feet as far up as I need them. It's not always possible in this game, and such flexibility is pretty mediocre in real climbing, so yeah, I would love to have some more possibility to do that. Yeah, but we gotta deal with what we are given, so yeah, we're just going to continue. Maybe we can stretch up here a bit. Almost. Okay, that's nice. We're going to have to traverse to the right a little bit. And we can shake off. Although it wasn't quite necessary. That's okay. Very nice positions. Feet right here and here. It's getting a bit darker, I see. But we'll manage, I hope. If not, then we're going to have to struggle in the dark. Oh, let's shake off. In a stable position. Remember what I told you about this 4 points of contact and having this sort of a box shape in between them. A nettle, not sure what that will do, but if we can collect it, then we're going to. Let's see now. Maybe some saving spot appeared. Okay, it did. So it is here, but it only appears when you climb this part. So yeah, we're going to set up a block here and just try to get asleep. I think we can drink some water. That's alright. We need it. We can also eat something. Maybe we can try to cook something. Sure, let's eat those instant noodles, why not? There's some water to cook. Need to hold it. Cooked noodles. It's sad that there are no hover tips to tell you a little bit about what those glyphs or symbols are. Yeah, of course I'm going to know what the stomach is for or the drop of water, but this one on the right, I do not get it at all. I hope it's not self-explanatory, because otherwise I'm just going to be considered a bit of an idiot. Which is alright. Let's grab some sleep. Okay, I think this bar is for the tiredness, I guess. Yeah, she just woke up after the bar got filled to full. Or maybe it's just a health bar, we'll see. We'll have to see. Okay, 7 AM. I think we can wake up or get up. We can drink some more water. Water is always nice to be full on. And we've got our second day of ascending the Tenzen. Is it Tenzen or Tenzen? Not sure. Doesn't sound like an English name. I wonder if it's like a resemblance of a real mountain in some land, or is it just something that was figured out on the spot just for the purpose of this game. I'm going to have to check that out afterwards. Okay. Yeah, there are a couple of options to climb, I guess. In the demo, I think I was climbing this part right here because it looked quite easy. Up until a certain moment, of course, but I think it gets even easier here. But I'm kind of interested in this stone pillar right here. I think that even the climb bot is telling me to come here. Yeah, I think there's a sensible way to climb it. This section gets a bit harder, but I guess we can just traverse to the right here and climb on this exposed part. And then here, I guess there is something of a running jump available. And this part seems just easy. I think I'm going to try it. Let's see. Seems like a fun idea. Although I am hesitant. If it doesn't work out, then I'm going to die, and that's going to be disappointing. Yeah, maybe let's try something else. Ooh. I can break a part of the stone, and water comes out of it. That's nice. Okay, let's see here, maybe. Oops. Let's see this part. This part looks quite easy, so I don't even need to think about it. This one seems a bit tougher. It's not undoable, honestly speaking, up until this moment, where here I'm going to struggle a little bit. Yeah, doesn't seem like a viable option, honestly speaking. There's a crack here. For a certain specific type of climbing called crack climbing, when you just jam your feet or hands into a crack. Although this isn't even a crack, it's like a ledge of some sort. So yeah, I think there's only one viable option. Oh, I wonder if those are those picas that were described below the mountain. They seem kind of small, but chill. They don't seem to be running away from me. Okay, let's just pick the smartest and safest option, which is sometimes a great idea in climbing. In climbing, you have this general idea of the routes that are preset. They are set by people. In the rocks, it's a set of moves that somebody finds on a rock without creating them. So yeah, the natural rock formation is being used for climbing, and somebody sets or first ascends the route, then they get to call it some way and give a rough estimate in some climbing grade scale of what the supposed difficulty of the climb is.
Right on.
Yeah, but I kind of lost the point of what I wanted to say. Aha, yeah, and if somebody climbs the route in a specific way, so for example, yeah, they reach up here into this ledge, then go up here because there's no other possibility. Like without, for example, traveling here to the left, then it's going to be the intended so-called beta of the climb. So the intended way of climbing a certain route. And if you leave this beta or do not follow it, then essentially you're not going to complete the climb, at least not the way it is intended. But in the context of safety, it's sometimes a great decision because in the end, rock climbing is a very dangerous sport. You are going to risk a lot with injuries. In standard climbing categories, you're not going to risk your life pretty much. At least I wouldn't say it. Let me just focus for a little moment. Why is she grabbing the ledge like that? Because you're going to climb with protective gear, so yeah, there's pretty much one type of climbing that's pretty problematic, and where it's possible or even implicated that you're going to risk your life, and that's free solo climbing. Free solo climbing is actually the type of climbing I'm doing right now. I have the option to place some protective gear in the game, but as you can see, I'm not using any at the moment, and I'm quite far up already, so if I were to fall right here, I would probably die in the game. And yeah, this is the type of climbing that's called free soloing. You're doing a climb without any assistance of any gear, be that, yeah, the pitons, the trot climbing gear like cams, or I forgot what the other type of climbing gear is called. Yeah, in sport climbing, of course, you can climb off a route that is built to have a preset option, preset set of options for placing the protective gear. Okay, I'm kind of talking too much and I'm not sure where should I continue the climb. I think I was supposed to traverse to the left, so let's do that. Yeah, and sport climbing, or traditional climbing, called also trad climbing, is the type of climbing where you have certain options to use some gear to help you protect yourself from the risk of death, but nevertheless you are still going to risk a lot of injuries. Like for example, I'm just about to climb over the ledge or the shelf just below me, right here. So imagine I were a couple of meters or a couple dozen meters higher than this, and I would be placing my gear very uncarefully, without care. In some worst case scenario, I would be going for a fall that's a couple dozen meters, and eventually I could technically hit the shelf just below me, and if I would probably break a leg, break my hands, or even risk some sort of a head injury. So yeah, there's always a certain amount of risk involved when doing rock climbing, but generally speaking, if you are experienced with it, if you know what it's about, if you are careful with it, especially, then the risk is quite minimal, I'd say. Come on, Ava, stretch. Let's move up very quickly. Oof, that was close, I believe. She was actually shaking a lot here. Alright, we got to a shelf. And this is the easiest part of this rock face. So let's continue on. I actually have to check how close it was there, right there, because this sort of eagle eye view, or whatever it is called in the game, I'm not pretty sure, is allowing you to check the past climb in terms of how difficult it was, where Ava struggled the most. And I hope the game will allow me to do it right now. Yeah, so you can see that's actually a very nice feature of the game. We're going to have the history of the climbs that we did and the colorful line that leads up and down a rock face. Tells you basically the amount of strength, amount of exhaustion that you were faced with when climbing. Generally, the lighter green the color is, the better. On the start, I somehow struggled a little bit, as we can see. But yeah, most of the climb was quite easy, not challenging at all. This part right here was pretty problematic for me. The part where she was shaking a lot. Seemed like I didn't grab onto any good holds, but that's okay. We didn't fall. We pretty much free soloed the whole mountain without placing any pitons, so that's quite nice. And we're here at the top of Mount Tenzen, I believe. We can drink some water. Don't have any containers to fill.
Are you ready for Cammy?
And we're standing in front of the Kami mountain, which, according to the narrative of the game, is a mountain that's quite far from being visited often. I don't think it's like nobody has climbed it in the world of this game, but there's only a few people that have managed to do it. And I think it's the aspiration of Ava to do so. So yeah, I don't think we want to restart the training. I'm not sure whether that's going to push us back into the climbing gym, so I just want to continue with the ascent. And I think, honestly speaking, we're going to be ending the things right here for this episode. We've managed to climb the mountain called Tenzen. I think we finished up the warm-up section of the game, and we're going to be stepping into a difficult territory of climbing the mountain of Kami. So yeah, thanks for joining in for this episode. We're going to continue on in the next one, starting at the bottom of this huge mountain. Thanks again, take care, and see you in the next one.